Hello, welcome to the AES Immersive Academy 2021 from New Audio Technology. My name is Tom Ammermann and I'm the General Manager of New Audio Technology. But my background is music and audio production, and I think it's good to know for you for this presentation. I'd like to talk about this task, immersive and interactive audio for live applications like films, theaters, concerts, and broadcast, and maybe some others in the future. These are the main challenges I like to discuss, and I like to give you some insight and inspirations. Formats is very important because they are totally different for these applications. Source management is not easy, but finally it is easy, but you need to know how. So there are different possibilities, and I give you one idea and inspiration how to do this. Production, of course, how to do the production, and the reproduction is also very important. You have to have this in mind if you create and plan such a project. The first thing is formats. In home entertainment as well as in cinema entertainment, the formats are clear. It is stereo 501, 714, it's a new immersive audio formats, and in the cinema, you have also a lot of loudspeakers, but finally it is formatted. So these formats are clear. But it is totally different in such applications like live or theaters or in a planetarium. The loudspeaker environments are always totally different, so you have to care about this issue. So unfortunately, the regular formats, regular channel-based formats doesn't work. Well, we come back to the channel-based formats later, but for now, it's not possible to create a channel-based for such an application. Furthermore, we have to think, where can we do the mix? So if this loudspeaker system on site of the production where we want to create content for is not available, we need a place to do such a mix. And this is, for example, could be a cinema dub stage, and this is what I recommend, could be a near field environment like your studio. And it is possible to extend the loudspeaker environment if you still have 714, it's cool. Just put some speakers on the ceiling. But finally, however you will do this, my recommendation is to create a spherical environment that the loudspeakers, if possible, are the same model, so have the same coloration and frequency range, and they should also place in the same distance in direction to the monitoring place, so creating finally a sphere. This is, from my personal experience, a very good, let's say, starting position to create a mix, to decide where to pan objects, to place objects. So your audio sources, that is a good strategy to work that way. Also, you have to think about how you do the production. So formats in regard to so channel-based doesn't work, I mentioned this. So now what left is object-based and scene-based. Both helps you to create spatial mixes for different loudspeaker environments, but my personal recommendation is to go with object-based, because object-based allows you to deal with the objects also if the production is done, so on site. I'll show you later some application where you are very happy, for example, interactive audio in broadcast applications, to have discrete objects on the reproduction side. You can also deal with, so your master is not fixed like a channel-based or an ambisonic mix, but you can do something interactive stuff with the objects on the reproduction side. So here I like to introduce our plugin, the Spatial Audio Designer. It is based on the technology we started to develop in 2010 and what is used in 2011 for the first 3D movie ever by Lucasfilm. It was Red Tails, mixed in Auro 3D using the first version of the Spatial Audio Designer plugin. Of course, it's available for all the interfaces, you know, the AEX VST and AU. It's Mac and Windows is supported, and it gives you also the possibility to output, of course, the discrete channels of your mix. So the plugin works also in your workflow. So if you do not have an audio workstation like Nuendo, Pro Tools or Reaper, what supports more than 2 channels, so immersive audio or surround, you can create immersive audio mixes also if you run Ableton or Studio One just with that plugin. So you can deliver your sources to a mixing environment. You can mix in 501 or 60.1 or whatever, and you can monitor it on your loudspeaker system in your studio as well as on the loudspeaker system on site. This is a very good information, and it's good to know. So there's no limit for you. And it also offers, the plugin also offers binaural monitoring. I will tell you a little bit more on some further slides about, I will talk a little bit more about that. And finally, it allows to create MPEG-H, and I will also come back in later slides about MPEG-H for broadcast applications. It looks like that. So this is a new version of the Spatial Audio Designer released pretty soon, where you can mix as well as author, monitor, and export MPEG-H for file. The plugin is for file-based applications, so to give it for broadcast applications later. The strategy of the plugin, and this is the reason why it works also in a just stereo workstation, is it consists of let's say a pack of 3 modules. So the first one is a send module. It is inserted in the discrete tracks of your sources in your audio workstation. The mix module, what is placed in a stereo strip, where you can see all the sources you send to one mix engine. And finally, you have the channel out modules, what allow you to output the discrete tracks to the loudspeaker system in your studio as well as on site later. And it is this send module and the channel out module. So everything is working with the so-called, we call it the virtual bus. It is a rendering engine what runs along the audio workstation, but still in the plugin domain. So no latency. So 0 latency if you do your production, and you can run more than one. So you can in one session, audio workstation session, you can run different mixes with different sources at the same time. And you can also output these different mixes to different loudspeaker environment. So this is pretty short an explanation of the strategy, or give you an insight of the strategy, how the plugin works in your audio workstation to create spatial audio. But what happens, I mentioned already another format, what happens if you can do your mix in your studio because you don't have a studio, or no, not with so many speakers? The possibility you have then with the plugin, with this plugin, the Spatial Audio Designer plugin, is using so-called virtual binaural monitoring. So you can use your regular headphones and have the experience you create a mix, let's say, for example, on a 7.1 for loudspeaker system. Just with regular headphone, it is offered by this plugin, and this binaural audio is always delivered from the mix module, but is always placed in a stereo strip. So this is mainly all you need to create content for such applications. And just to mention this at this here, the binaural processing from the Spatial Audio Designer is based on real measurement of real studios. So this is where we are different to other binaural monitoring approaches. So we offer real studio environment, and that helps you to create a mix who finally works on a real loudspeaker system. So pretty important to know this also here. workflow. So you know where to do, you know how to deal with the formats, with the objects and so on. So you can just plug the Spatial Audio Designer in your audio workstation, start the mix in your studio or virtually, and then, as I mentioned, you can go on site and check your mix. So you start to do the mix on, let's say, 714 virtually on your regular headphones, and then you go on site, connect your laptop with Dante virtual sound card or with an RME MADI interface to the real loudspeaker system on site, and just change the preset in the Spatial Audio Designer and just hear all the object placements and movements you did in the production with the Spatial Audio Designer in your audio workstations on the real loudspeaker system on site. So then you can do the final tweaking and mixing and adjustment, and then you're ready to go to do the export that the client finally need. And here the Spatial Audio Designer allows you to do an object-based export. It is Spatial Audio Designer format, you can say, but then you open the Spatial Audio Designer offline export tool, and that allows you to create in offline, of course, offline rendering, the final mix. So it could be 714 because you maybe need it for Blu-ray as well, 511 stereo, and of course the master, the 60.1, let's say, master for your client, that he can use it at his event to play it back. Here, keep in mind, very often on site they use for the playback an audio workstation or media servers. So could happen that they maybe use more than one media servers. Then you should export your master not in just a big 60.1, so 61 master file. That doesn't work on different media servers. So export it discretely. And the Spatial Audio Designer offline export tool allows you to do an export with discrete wave tracks that you can put them to the media servers and allocate them directly to the loudspeaker system. So you have finally all you need for the production and for the monitoring. Now I'd like to give you some examples for such applications. The first one is the Expo 2021 now in Dubai, the Mobility Pavilion audio production. It's done by Not a Machine from Hamburg, and the main fact there is this pavilion has 13 stages with different loudspeaker configurations. And you couldn't go into it to mix and check your stuff the whole time, just sometimes. And there's no rendering unit on site. What I mentioned before, they have media servers, and they have, in some larger environments, they have more than one media server who feeds the same loudspeaker system. So there you need mono master files. And they have not an rendering unit on site. I'll show you on in the next example what this could be and how this works. So here I like to point out 3 stages who are, let's say, a larger scene of one story, what is running, of course, in these in this pavilion. And there are 3 scenes who are, one scene, 3 stages, sorry, who are pretty close. And you have a lot of crosstalk of these stages. But each of them has a different or a discrete mix. But some of the audio sources used for that production are in all of these 3 stages, like a narrator. So how to deal with that? And now, as I mentioned, you can use in one audio session of your audio workstation 3 mixes at the same time. And this is what is Not a Machine, what they did. They created a session with 3 mixes, did the pre-production for every of this mix, sometimes in the studio, but also some in with virtual reproduction, because they had to mix for environment they not have available in the studio. So 3 mix modules in one session with a lot of audio objects directed to the referring mix. And then they they did every mix after, so one mix after another, and then on site they checked every mix discretely, and if that works, every mix for its own works well, then they just activated all the 3 mixes and they hear everything and they could tune it. So now for such an application, you understand, you need one audio session, so everybody has to play back the whole time, and then you can tweak in every mix everything that works together, that the crosstalks work well, and so on. So this is one application where you are very happy to create more than one mix in one audio workstation session. Now I'd like to give you some examples for immersive audio with interactivity. So events or presentations where not only a master file is looped, but where you need interactivity. Something is happen in live. It's live, so you need access to the audio files, and here to the audio sources. And here I'd like to introduce the Spatial Audio Designer processor. It is let's say all the cool features you have in the plugin available here as well, but with a lot more power, of course, and reliability and interactive possibilities you need on site. One example I'd like to give you here is the science dome of the Experimenta in Heilbronn in Germany. And here they have, let's say, or I name it 2 modes. The one mode is the dome mode, where the audience is watching to the dome, a tilted dome, where they run star shows and 360 movies and so on. The second mode, or the other mode, is on the opposite side of the tilted dome. Here, it's a stage where they do music concerts and movie playback and so on. But very often they do transitions. So they start a production here in the stage with a narrator, a short video clip to explain something, and then the whole audience, this table here, is moving physically to this mode, so 180 degree. And of course, for that transition, the whole audio scene with the playback of the show as well as the interactive stuff like some musicians and the narrator must move along with all the automations you did in the main production, must move to the other mode. And this is an application where you need such a processor who helps you to play back a pre-production as well as interactive content for such an event. Another application for such a processor is broadcast. So here it is I'd like to talk about this next generation audio. This is MPEG-H is a part, or is, I would say, one of the main parts of next generation audio for broadcast. The new processor version, released pretty soon, will also support MPEG-H mixing, authoring, monitoring and export to files, but also streaming, so for broadcast live applications. Such a box is mostly running along a mixing desk, like from Lavo, where the main mix is made, and then the desk is sending the objects or the let's say the groups to this processor, who is doing the placement and maybe some automations in the space and the 3D environment, for example. So it is also MPEG-H is also supporting immersive audio, so more than 7.1. And you can also do the authoring. I mentioned the components, creating the components and the ranges you want to allow the end users. And you have the monitoring and the export. And by the way, the monitoring, and this counts also for the plugin, is done by a library from Fraunhofer. So you really hear the rendering done by an MPEG-H library, also included in the TV sets of the end users, for example. The example I'd like to give here is, I mentioned this, I didn't mention the components, I'm sorry, no, I mentioned it again. The application is so-called personal audio. So you allow the end user to create an own mix. So you deliver prepared components of a representation, so of an event like a Formula One race, and you send these components to the end users. You create this with the plugin and the hardware unit, and you add some metadata to allow the user to create his own mix with these components. So it looks like this here. You have the user have a display, a small display. Of course, the TV set has to support MPEG-H, but all the main well-known manufacturers of TV sets support MPEG-H, and the user then can open such a display, and here he can create his mix, his own mix. So the way he liked to hear this representation. And as mentioned, you need objects for that because you have to define metadata like the range you allow the user to create his mix. So this is immersive interactive audio for broadcast application. So also live applications like a Formula One race or a football match. So that's pretty much it. So I showed you two tools to deal with all the challenges you have to deal with for such applications. It's kind of family business because the plugin and the hardware unit, the processor, support each other and work more or less in the main functions very similar. So that if you know to work with one of them, you know pretty soon or pretty fast how to work with the other product. So with that family business, you're ready to create and reproduce next generation audio everywhere and anytime. Okay, this is our website. You can get a lot more information on that website, and also contact details. And I hope you enjoy the AES Immersive Academy 2021, and all the best. Bye bye.